In this edition of In the Trenches with Dave Lapham, brought to you by First Star Logistics, our guest, Lou Anarumo, defensive coordinator for the Cincinnati Bengals, and he is going to be talking about the Minnesota Vikings offensive football team. Where are the big keys to success operating against this offense of the Minnesota Vikings? Dalvin Cook sounds like the straw that stirs the drink. Got to shut down that running game first. You're going to find out what Lou Anarumo thinks coming right up. This is In the Trenches with Dave Lapham, brought to you by First Star Logistics and our very special guest, defensive coordinator Lou Anarumo, who will be breaking down the September 12th opponent, the season opener for the Cincinnati Bengals, that being the Minnesota Vikings. And first and foremost, Coach, thanks for joining us, sir.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks for having me, bud. Looking forward to getting this thing going.
Yeah, I'll tell you, it's you have the entire league has a bye before the regular season, so the players should be flying around the football field. I mean, everybody should be pretty well rested. Their body should be pretty well recovered, I guess.
Yeah, I think so. And Zach's done a great job with the schedule, and I think that the players would say that is that they're feeling good and ready to go.
You know, it's funny. I remember as a player, like the first 4 games of the season, when your body felt really good, man, you were flying around the football field. And I remember we'd play like a division opponent early in the year, in the first 4-week span, then be playing them again like toward the end of the year, put the tape on of the first game and be like, wow, man, everybody's flying. What's going on? And then the toll of the season starts to wear on players a little bit. So the early stages of the football season are good for players. There's no doubt everybody feels rocking and rolling, ready to go. Minnesota Vikings, how difficult an offense is it to get ready for?
No, they're good. They really they have some weapons, as most people know. All starts with Dalvin Cook, one of the better running backs in our league, had over 1,500 yards last year. He can really, really run the ball. Very, very few times does the first guy bring him down. So we got to do a great job of gang tackling him and getting as many hats to the ball as possible. Then they got the 2 weapons on the outside with Thielen and Jefferson. Again, Jefferson with a bunch of yards and Thielen with almost 1,000 yards, but a bunch of touchdowns. So, and then the quarterback has been good and certainly, they present problems. They're in a really good system. The way they run the ball, we'll see a bunch of 2-backs and, very little 11 personnel, which is kind of the norm these days in the NFL, 11 that is, but they're the opposite. So they have the fewest snaps of 11 personnel in the whole NFL last year. So a little bit different approach by them. It's worked for a long time in the system that they've been in, and other teams that have used this in the past, but they're a challenging group.
Dalvin Cook, like you mentioned, over 1,500 yards, 16 touchdowns rushing, 1 receiving, and he missed 2.5 games. He still put up those kind of numbers. When I watch the guy, he's so fluid. He makes it look so easy. What is it about this guy that separates him?
He's a one-cut runner. He gets north and south quick. He has great quickness and good long speed. So he's got the whole package, in our opinion. He's tough. He does, as I mentioned earlier, he doesn't go down with the first hit. Very, very rarely does he. So, and he's just a great body balance, has great vision. We have very high regard for him and as a player.
You mentioned Thielen, 14 touchdown receptions, all of them in the red zone. Yeah. I mean, the guy is a red zone. He and Cousins have, sometimes guys have just that special chemistry or whatever, and they seem to know what each other is going to do. I mean, does Thielen does Cousins force it to him, or is it just something that works that way? What have you seen on tape?
Well, he's a great route runner. He does a great job of getting himself open. He's so experienced and been around for so long, and the quarterback trusts him. And those 2 weapons between him and Jefferson, they're a really good group.
Jefferson, 88 catches, 1,400 yards, 7 touchdowns. The catches and yards, he broke Randy Moss's rookie record, which is a legendary guy, Hall of Fame player. 1,400 yards receiving, second most ever by any rookie in NFL history. What is it about his game that's special, Coach?
He's got really strong hands, at the on the 50-50 balls. He goes up and gets them. He's got that, he's an angular type body, where he can twist and contort and go make plays. He can really run. So again, you're talking about size, speed, and great instincts and great job going and strong hands. So put it all together and you get what you got as a rookie year. So he is a guy that we certainly have to be aware of where he is on every snap.
I heard some comparisons with him to Keenan Allen, and do you think any of those comparisons are fair, or is he a totally different kind of player than Keenan Allen?
Yeah, I mean, both really good players. It's a good comparison. Both strong hand guys, good route runners. So yeah, it's a good comparison. Again, both really, really good football players.
I know some people were surprised that he ran as well as he ran. They didn't think he was quite as fast as he eventually showed himself to be with the Minnesota Vikings. I mean, some guys just have functional football speed, right? I mean, it's like running a 40 is one thing, but you put on shoulder pads, helmet, and they're out there running routes, and functional football speed's a different animal, isn't it?
I think so, and it shows with him. He doesn't look slow. Let's say that. Yeah. So when he puts the pads on, and I think to me he does have great football speed and quickness as well. So again, that's why he is, and that's why part of the reason why he had the production he had last year.
You mentioned they'll use multiple tight ends. They'll use tight ends and fullbacks in their formations. Irv Smith Jr. is not going to be able to play in this football game. How big a loss might that be, do you think? And do they have pretty good tight end packages still left available?
I think they will. I think it's a part of their DNA and what they do. So they brought in Chris Herndon from the Jets and traded for him. So I think he'll step into Smith's role, and he's a good athlete and certainly a good player as well. So to me, I don't think it slows them down. Again, they'll miss Irv Smith, don't get me wrong, but I think that for them, they'll look at Herndon as a similar guy and kind of plug him in those particular roles and do what they do.
Darrisaw is fighting a little bit of an injury situation. He's kind of a question mark personnel-wise, but a first-round pick. I mean, they're obviously high on him. 2 first-rounders. He and Bradbury are first-round guys. 2 second-rounders and a third-rounder. In that group up front, the offensive line. So they've made some investments. How has that offensive line looked like it's playing? I mean, I know preseason there's not a whole lot of snaps by the number ones together, but what do you anticipate there?
Well, I think again they're all individually good players, but really when you put them all together as a whole, there's a reason why the running back ran for 1,500 yards. These guys do a great job of working together, and they understand the scheme that they're running, and it all works well, and they fit well with the back. So they do a good job, and I think as a group, they play well together. You don't see many missed assignments there. They're in sync, and we'll have our hands full on Sunday.
Clint Kubiak, Gary Kubiak's son, is the offensive coordinator for the football team. Gary retired and Clint takes over. So obviously there's going to be a carryover in terms of schematic, but he hasn't called plays yet. Do you think there's any advantage to you at this juncture with a guy calling plays for the first time in an NFL game, or is that not really something you think about?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I mean, anytime you're doing anything for the first time, it's, but I do think that, he had some chance last year to do it potentially. And, so I don't know that it'll be his first time, but he's certainly not as experienced as his dad was with all the years that he's done it. But, he's been around one of the better coaches, great coach in our league on offense for a long, long time. So, he knows what to do. This is not like a guy that's coming, first time in the league. He's been around it his whole life. So, he'll know what to do and what to call.
Kirk Cousins at quarterback, not your extend, create, in this era of mobile quarterback in the National Football League. Kirk's not that type of guy. He's more of, the pocket guy that, reads it out and gets the ball out. What's your level of respect for Kirk Cousins at quarterback?
Yeah, high. Again, a guy that's been doing it for a long time, and he's a little sneakier than you think. Like, he's out running some ends on all these boots that they run and getting himself, giving himself a chance to throw the ball down the field some. So he's a little bit more elusive than you think, but he's got great weapons and he does a good job of getting the ball out on time. Again, understands the scheme and. I think the guy's a good player.
He had kind of like two distinct seasons, last year. The first six games of the season, he had 10 interceptions. They went 1-5, and then the last 10 games of the season, he only had 3 interceptions. They go 6-4.
Yeah.
So the old axiom, offensively, you want to take care of the football. Defensively, you want to do just the opposite, right? I mean, you've really put a major focus on turnovers and drills and everything that you've done all training camp long. Do you feel like it paid off for you a little bit in the preseason? That'll carry over to the regular season?
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. The guys have all bought in on it. And, that's going to, as we all know, that's what drives winning and losing in this league to a great degree is the, turnover margin. So I feel really good about where we're at with that. And, guys just got to go take advantage of the opportunities that they're given on Sunday.
Let's talk about your defensive personnel now that we kind of broke down the Minnesota Vikings, everything there is to know about the Minnesota Vikings. We appreciate you for that, Coach. Defensively, last year in 2020, it was the interior of the defensive line got stricken by injury. Here in the early stages of 2021, it's moved to the edge outside. I mean, it's crazy. There's always a position group that seems to get hammered by injury. Hopefully it's done at this point in time, but how do you feel going into this football game in terms of your depth on the edge?
Yeah, again, like you said, injuries are a part of this game and this league, and you don't want them. And certainly, you lose the guys that we lost, Joseph Asai, who's really had a promising start to training camp in the preseason, and then you get Khalid Kareem out there, and I think for now on in the preseason, if anybody gets a sack, we're going to take them out because they seem to get hurt the next play. But anyway, I feel good about the guys we have. They've been working their butts off. We added, Wyatt Ray to the group from Tennessee, and give us some depth there. But Sam and Trey will have had really good camps, and looking forward to those guys playing on Sunday.
On the back end, Trey Waynes, who you got from the Minnesota Vikings, a couple of years back, he just, as the old saying goes, a great ability to have his availability, and he's just been, just unbelievable stretch of bad luck with respect to injury. But you watch the guy. I mean, when he's out there in practice at training camp, I mean, the dude's a player. Long can shut people down. It's just so unfortunate.
Yeah, again, another guy that was having a good camp, and but hopefully we'll get him back sooner than later, and we'll see how that all shakes out for the upcoming game or games. But he wants to get back. He's dying to get out there. That's the good news, and it's not something that's going to keep him out very long.
How do you feel about your depth on the back end, Coach?
Good, yeah, good. The guys that we have and the guys that we're going in with have all played and started in the league and been productive, and so I feel good about it.
And finally, appreciate the time that you've carved as the opener is just days away. Your linebacker core, how do you feel about that group?
Really good. Again, I thought, as we've talked and made mention in some of the earlier press conferences, that I think all of those guys have had good training camps, and we feel like we got good depth there, and those guys will have specific roles for the game and when we use them and in what situations and circumstances. So, and they're aware of it too. They obviously know what role they have, and whether it be defense, special teams, whatever it is. But it's a good group, and looking forward to again watching those guys go out and play on Sunday.
Coach, appreciate your breakdown of the Minnesota Vikings, opponent number 1 for the Cincinnati Bengals on September 12th. Good luck in that football game. Everybody stay healthy, and good luck for the entire season 2021, sir. Appreciate your time.
Yeah, yes, sir. Thanks, Dave. See you again soon, bud.
Hi, Dave Lapham here. Have you heard about In the Trenches with Dave Lapham, presented by First Star Logistics? catch new episodes from the world of sports and broadcasting, search for In the Trenches with Dave Lapham on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts.